Hi there, everybody. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here for our live stream tonight. We are doing biscuits and sausage gravy with Chef Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have the opportunity to do these classes as a way of connecting with our community, even when we're not able to connect in person. My name is Carrie. I am the Assistant Outreach and Education Manager here at City Market. So I'm the one who's been sending you all those emails. We're so glad that you're able to join us. If you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A box, the chat box, and I will read them out to Chef Jason or answer them as necessary. And if you have any tech problems, feel free to shoot me an email. I am keeping an eye on my email as well during all of this. So if you have problems, let me know and we can try to figure that out. But without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Chef Jason. And again, if you have questions, just let me know in that chat box. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason. Thanks for joining us this evening. Like Carrie said, we're going to be doing sausage gravy with biscuits. I am a local private chef here in Vermont, based out of Colchester, and have done a few classes here at City Market, more in the Southern Comfort series. So we're going to continue that today with, again, the sausage gravy with biscuits. So we're going to start today with our biscuits. We have some butter here. We have 6 tablespoons of butter. We have our buttermilk. We have flour, some cane sugar, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. What you want to do with the biscuits is we want to cut the butter into the flour and into the dry ingredients. So you can do that by hand, by basically pinching it, or like a pastry cutter and cutting it in, or you can use a food processor, which is a pretty quick, easy way to do it. And we're going to do that today. I'll show you how to do that and cut it in. So we're going to start just measuring our ingredients. We're going to do 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to take a little more into my scoop here and set it to the side for when we roll out the biscuits. So we'll take our baking powder. I'm going to do a tablespoon of baking powder. And then we're going to take our baking soda. Don't mix up the two. So we're going to take baking soda, and we're doing a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And take our salt. Do a teaspoon of salt. I use kosher salt. If you're going to use iodized salt, or if you have iodized salt at home, it's finer. So you want to use a little less of that because it's going to have a little more salinity to it. It's going to spread out in the flour more because it's finer. So you'd probably use about 3/4 of a teaspoon if you have the fine iodized salt. The kosher salt is what I usually use. And then we're going to put in our sugar. We do about 3/4 of about a 1/2 of a tablespoon or a teaspoon and a half. That's the same conversion there. Okay, so that's all of our dry ingredients. So once that goes into the food processor, just go ahead and mix those up. It's going to be loud, so 1 second. You get all those dry ingredients dispersed evenly and mixed up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut our butter in. And to do that, we're going to slowly add it, a couple cubes at a time. I took the butter, and you want it to be very cold. If it's melty, it's going to make your biscuits sag. The dough will be soft, so you're not going to get the rise that you want from the biscuits. So what you want to do is have it really cold. This just came out of the fridge, and cut it up before you start cutting it in. So go ahead and add a couple in there and pulse it. And pulse it a couple times. Throw a couple more in. And once you have it in here, you want to pulse it about 10 times and then check it. What we want to do is this dough should be about the consistency of cornmeal or so. And you can have some butter pieces that are no bigger than the size of, I'd say, like a pea. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that feels pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and dump this out, and then I'll show you what the dough looks like. Hear that it's dry but crumbly like cornmeal. So if I pressed it, it kind of stays together. So that's what you're looking for. We're going to go ahead and mix our buttermilk in. It calls for a cup of buttermilk. It says approximately on the recipe because it is a little bit of a feel to it. You want it to be wet, but not too wet, but you definitely don't want it to be dry. Wetter is better for the dough with the biscuit because, again, you're going to get that nice rise. And why it also sometimes is approximate is because different flours have different hydration rates. So that means that it's going to take more or less moisture to get it to the point that you want. Actually, King Arthur is pretty consistent with their protein level, and that's the flour we're using today. But certain flours could fluctuate, and that'll change the hydration rate of the flour.
While you're mixing that, we did have a question come in. Someone wants to know, how do you feel about the difference between measurement by volume versus measurement by weight when baking?
Well, measurement by volume, measurement by weight. So certain things I would say you definitely want to measure by weight. Generally, something like biscuits where there is a little bit of a feel to it and you're kind of making a dough and it could be sticky or wetter. You need it to add a little more dry, a little more wet. I like to do it that way. Because again, it's a little bit of a feel. But to weigh things, when you're baking like cookies, cakes, really specific doughs, they always say to weigh them because it's going to give you the weight. And again, like I was just talking about before, different flour, different hydration rate. If you use a consistent thing, it should work out the same. But again, if you're going to do that, you have to use this consistent ingredient every time because if you're going to use a different type of flour, that could change it too. So.
And someone else wants to know, is there a good sub for buttermilk, such as yogurt or a yogurt milk mix if you don't have buttermilk on?
Actually, you do milk with a little lemon juice and let it sit for 20 minutes or so, and that will mimic the flavor of buttermilk. So we're going to add about 3/4 of this, and I'm going to go ahead and make this claw kind of thing and get it mixed up. Add a little bit more. Still kind of dry and crumbly. So again, with biscuit dough, you're not trying to knead this dough. You do not want to overwork the dough because again, if you overwork it, you're going to really develop the gluten. And that will, again, make a tough biscuit. That's going to make it a tough biscuit. It's not going to rise right. So this actually looks like it's probably going to be about perfect with the cup. That feels pretty good. So as you can see, I don't want to knead it. I want it to kind of just press it and see where I am, but you can see that it's kind of wet. Actually, looking at that, it's going to be good. So go ahead and just put the last little few drops in there. Right. Now we're going to go ahead and roll out the biscuit. So there's your dough. It's set. You don't want to overwork that anymore, okay? So what we want to do is we want to take a little bit of flour that we already set it to the side, put it down on your table here. You're going to dump out the dough. It should look very shaggy and like kind of like a little mess. So you're probably like, well, that doesn't look like dough. Well, that's what you want. You want it this way because now we're going to work it. So again, you're not kneading this. I'm just bringing it together. I want to make like a rectangle, square type of thing. Best I can. Not, you don't have to measure it, not geometry, but just get it brought together. Then you have these like crumble parts, bring those to the middle, kind of just getting it all brought together. Then what we want to do is we want to fold the dough over on itself a few times. This trick right here, put a little bit of flour in those layers. That's going to give you that nice rise. So we're just going to fold the first one. We're going to press it down again. Take some of that flour right in the middle of that layer. We're going to fold it again. We want to do this 4 times. So that was twice. Pressing it down. A little bit of flour in the layer. Fold it over again. Press it down. A little more in the middle there. Do that flour. Fold it over. And that's going to do it. Now we're just going to roll this out to about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. At this point, you can use a rolling pin if you wanted to. I just use my hand like this and kind of make my arm a rolling pin just to get it to the point of the thickness that I want. So as soon as that's done, we can just cut them out. So this was going to make, depending on the size of the biscuits, anywhere from 6 to 10 biscuits. So you could take a biscuit cutter and cut these out. What we're going to do today is just take our dough scraper here, and cut them out that way. When you're cutting biscuits, the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to twist or like slide your cutter. You want to go straight down or straight down like that. Again, because the edge, you want it to rise. If you're going to twist or seal, you're going to actually like seal the edge and you're not going to get it to do the rise that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this edge off of here. And I'm just going to square it a little bit. But we're going to use that stuff, so save it, because we're going to make more biscuits out of that.
You can see the layers in it from my angle.
So then we're just going to cut out some squares here. Not the most uniform, but what we're going to do with these, just put them on a sheet pan. You don't have to grease your sheet pan. There's lots of butter in these. They're not going to stick. So we're just going to lay these on our sheet pan. Now this dough's been worked a little bit, so we, again, don't want to overwork it. You may want to just fold it back on itself like one time, just to kind of bring it back together. So I'm just going to get it to about the thickness we like. Like that. Cut those. Make little rectangular biscuits. This guy, maybe get one more perhaps.
Someone wants to know if you've ever tried making vegan biscuits with vegan butter and any sort of vegan milk sub.
I have not. I assume it would work. I don't know if the flavors would be the same. As long as you're going to use you can take your little piece to make a little cute little biscuit like that for the last one. As long as you're going to use your risers, your baking powder, your baking soda, your flour, and some liquid, you should get it to rise. You should get it to do its trick. But the butter and the buttermilk do contribute a lot to the flavor of the biscuit, so I'm not sure, what the taste would be like. I'm sure they'd be fine. I just don't know if they would be the exact same. So. All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the oven. So these are cut up. They're ready to go. We're going to bake these for about 12 minutes. And I like to, at the 6-minute mark, just spin it halfway. I've never really met an oven that cooks evenly. That's not a convection oven. Most home ovens tend to cook hotter one side or the other. So I always spin halfway through.
Would you like help cleaning up your workstation? Do you want help cleaning? Oh, no, it's fine.
Talk with clean.
Someone also wanted to ask if you've ever made biscuits successfully with other flours like whole wheat or rye.
I have, yeah, that'll work. Again, it's going to be denser or a little bit of a different flavor. The all-purpose is a little finer, so it's going to get a nice rise where the wheat flours, rye flours tend to be a little denser. But again, if you're doing it for health purposes or just to play around and have different flavors, like it's going to be fine. Just going to wash my hands.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just going to clean up this station here. And while the biscuits are baking, we're going to go ahead and mix up our sausage. So talking a little bit about sausage, it's really simple to make sausage. You want a good piece of pork or some ground pork that's got some good fat in it, which is what we have today. It's probably some pork shoulder that's ground up, or I would imagine something like that. And that's going to give you a good fat ratio, and that's what you want, the type of pork that you want for your sausage. There's many different sausages, obviously fresh sausage versus cooked sausage, which would be something like we're making today, would be a fresh sausage, like a breakfast sausage. Italian sausages are usually fresh sausages, those types of things. Cooked sausages are going to be more like your kielbasa's, the smoked sausages, andouille, that type of stuff. So we're going to do a fresh sausage today, which is a breakfast sausage. So it's really simple. And I'm going to grab the stuff and we're going to mix that up. All right. All right, so like I said, we got some ground pork here. It's nice Vermont ground pork, nice fat content. You can see it in there. So we'll go ahead and open this guy up. So the recipe that you guys have says 2 pounds of pork today. I'm just going to do a 1 pound batch in here, but you could take this and just extrapolate it out and do as much as you want as far as your the size of the batch of the size that you want. You could make it, you could freeze it, you could form it in patties, freeze it, pull it out later, and it'd be good to just make your own breakfast sausage. It's super easy. So we're going to try that right now. All right, so the recipe that you guys have right there is the sage and fennel. Sorry. All right, so what you want to do is you want to mix up all your dry ingredients first separately, and then we're going to mix them into the pork. And the reason you want to do that is because you want even disbursement of all your ingredients. There's 2 things when you're making sausage, and both of them have to do with mixing. Number 1 is the ingredients, which is all your dry stuff that's going to go into the pork. You want to sprinkle it evenly, mix it, sprinkle a little more. You don't want to just dump it all in at one time because you don't want one piece to be saltier and one piece to not be salty. One piece is going to be spicier, and so you want really even disbursement with your spices. And the second thing is actually mixing it, like really mixing it. When you make big batches of sausage, there's these, they're basically sausage mixers or meat mixers, and they look like big tumblers, and this is tumble this meat around in big batches. And what that's doing is it's taking the fat and kind of melting it, and you're you're milking the fat, so you're kind of extrapolating the fat from the protein. And then you're remixing all that fat in. And the longer you mix it, the harder your sausage is going to become. So like for a kielbasa or a smoked sausage, you want to mix it for a long time, like 7-8 minutes. And that's going to give you that like really crunch snappiness, like when you have a smoked sausage. For a fresh sausage, you only want to mix for like 1 or 2 minutes because you want it to kind of crumble under your fork. You want to have that mouthfeel of like a fresh crumbly sausage, which I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's why we're going to mix all this ingredient first, and that's a little bit about mixing sausage. All right, so we're going to do 1 teaspoon of the dry sage. A teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. Fennel is not necessarily always in breakfast sausage. I just really like fennel in my sausage. So this is some fennel seed that I took and just pulsed up a little bit in a spice grinder. You can put as little or as much as you want. This is like 1/4 teaspoon probably. So we'll put that right in there. We're going to do some brown sugar. So it's 1/2 tablespoon of brown sugar for the half batch. So we can eyeball that. A little bit of some crushed peppers. So that was 1/4 teaspoon, so it's really like 1/8 teaspoon. So we'll just do a couple little pinches there. And then like a small pinch of some clove just for that little bit of flavor. Again, you don't want too much clove. It definitely is a powerful spice. A little bit goes a long way, but if you put just a touch in there, it kind of gives it that, you know, you don't know what it is. There we go. There's a French term for that, but I wasn't going to say it. Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to say it. All right. Let me grab one glove real quick. So go ahead and get these dry spices really nice and mixed up. Smells nice. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit into the sausage, just to sprinkle the top, and we'll give it a really nice, good mix. Again, this is a fresh sausage, so we're not gonna really mix it. I'm not going to over mix it, I'll say. So just like that, we'll put a little bit more in. Really make sure you're evenly dispersing all these spices. You even give it, like, use your fist. Like, you really want to develop and kind of, you know, mash up that fat, because you're really trying to get that fat to kind of run through the pork, and that's what's going to give it a really nice texture. Go ahead and do this. Just do the rest at that point. Again, we're not working with a ton of meat here. Generally, you know, places making 50, 100-pound batches of sausage are going to sprinkle a little bit, mix it for a minute, sprinkle a little bit, mix it for a little bit. So now I'm just going to mix this up for, you know, 20 or 30 seconds. Really, again, develop that fat. You know, it does make a difference. You know, these are the little things that I think make a difference and make a meal taste different than someone else making the same recipe. Is these little techniques, like just doing this mixing for an extra minute, is going to really make the texture of your sausage better. The mouthfeel is going to be better. So, you know, you could give the same recipe to the same you know, to 3 different people, and each one's going to taste a little different just based on these little small techniques. So I always think that's really cool and interesting when it comes to cooking recipes, is how the technique throughout the recipe really lends to, you know, the finished product. All right, that's probably good. So as you guys can see, maybe the fat's kind of like streaking through it a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's kind of what you want. I'm gonna check these biscuits and give them a turn. All right. So these biscuits are almost done, and then we can, start doing the gravy. All right, a little equipment change here, get ourselves ready to cook some gravy. All right, the other thing we want to do is get a little bit of butter ready to brush the top of the biscuits for when they're done, because we want to brush them right when they come out of the oven. So I have a little butter right here, and you don't need much, a couple tablespoons depending on how many biscuits you're going to do, but I did 8 or so biscuits, that's going to be enough. You just want like a half of a teaspoon or so per biscuit. So I'm just going to grab a little saucepan here. I'm going to melt this butter. Okay. Wait, biscuits are almost done. All right, so we're going to melt the butter, and then we're going to do the gravy. So are there any questions right now?
No more questions coming in. Maybe if you wanted to talk a little bit more about what you do while we're waiting for biscuits with your job. You want to just chat with people, and if people do have questions, again, feel free to submit those. I will definitely read them out as they come in.
Cool. So yeah, like Carrie was saying, I'm a private chef around here. I teach the classes at City Market. This has been great. I also do like private dinners at people's houses, so you can contact me through City Market if you're interested in some of those. On a day-to-day basis, I run a deli and a butcher shop, and yeah, so that's kind of what we do every day. I'm cooking every day and trying to just learn and get out there and show people what we have to offer. So we got a class coming up actually on December 15th is my next class. That's going to be arroz con pollo, still sticking kind of with the comfort food theme, but that's going to be Spanish chicken and rice with like a saffron rice, and that's a really good one pot easy dish, and just a very comforting with the saffron, great flavors. So, yeah.
What are some of your other favorite recipes to cook? What do you enjoy
Well,
cooking?
we've done chicken and biscuits here. That's really fun. The chicken and dumplings, I really enjoy doing those. You know, on a daily basis, I love experimenting. So, you know, I like baking. I bake a lot. I like to make cakes and cookies and try those types of things. I also, excuse me, sorry. I love cooking, like, well, we just did for Thanksgiving, I just did a big cheesy sage and sausage stuffing. That's always a favorite of ours, so that's a fun one. But I think these biscuits are done, so it's good. Yeah. All right. All right, so there's our biscuits. Butter's melted. Those are nice biscuits. You can see the layers here on the sides. All right, so butter these biscuits. We're just going to brush them. Nice. There we go. So take your butter that you just melted. We have a basting brush here. We're just going to go ahead and brush the tops of these biscuits.
While you're brushing, I do have two more questions coming in. Mark wants to know, do you cook a wide variety of cuisines, or do you tend to stick a lot with traditional American foods?
No, I do lots of different stuff. So I do a lot of curries. That's always fun for me. I do a lot of stuff in the Korean realm. So in the last year or two, I've gotten a lot into the Korean cooking. I love working with gochujang. That's one of my favorite ingredients. It's just got such a deep umami flavor. You can do a lot of stuff with that. So I like to play around with all those types of cuisines and ingredients.
And the other one is, how did you get to be a private chef, and how has your work changed with everything going on?
Yeah, so just been cooking a long time. I own my own place, and then decided to, through doing a lot of catering, that I would just wanted to kind of do it on the side, and tried to start doing some private things. I signed up and got involved with a couple private chef websites, and started getting my name out that way. And then, yeah, just kind of took off a little bit, and it's been good. I really like just going to people's houses and really cooking and customizing menus for people. It did pretty much drop off when the pandemic started. People didn't want people in their houses, and it's still been a little more challenging now, but I have, the summer was okay, had a few jobs, but it is different. You know, you mask up and you distance and you ask people what they're comfortable with and what they're not comfortable with. But it's also, I think, makes people a little more comfortable because they're not out in public, they're not in a restaurant. They don't have to worry about other people. It's just them and me. So I think that does give some people comfort too. So.
And then I want to know, is that the color that we're looking for on the biscuits?
Yeah.
Or would you go, like, you're looking for that sort of very light golden?
Yeah, like, well, you can go a little darker if you want, but this is good. I'm looking more for the rise like that, all those layers developed like that, you know? I like a golden brown, and then just brush it. You know, you maybe could have gone another minute or two, but that's kind of what you want. Definitely don't want to overcook, because then they're going to be dry. All right. So the gravy. All right. All right, so I'm gonna put this on medium high. You grab a spoon. And we're just gonna start with the sausage. There's some fat in here, but I'll put a little oil in here just to.
There's that one where there's the cabinet right behind you, with solid oil. To the right hand side.
Just put a little touch of oil in here. Not a lot. Maybe like a teaspoon or two. We'll let this get warm.
Are there any other combinations of spices that you've done sausage with before, other than the fennel clove combo that you like?
Sure. As I was actually going to bring that up when I started sautéing. So you can do this gravy, you know, is traditionally a breakfast sausage gravy, but you could do any kind of sausage with this gravy if you want. Some of the smoked sausages aren't going to work as well because they're not going to crumble and you're not going to get that nice flavor all dispersed throughout the gravy. Like you don't want to like have little slices of kielbasa and like a sausage gravy, but like, you know, chorizo would be great. That'd be kind of like a spicy Mexican style gravy. You could do any of the Italian sausages; those will be fine. You know, so yeah, you could do any kind of different combination flavors. You could. There's a million different sausage recipes. You know, if you Google sausage recipes, so any of those would work for a gravy. Yeah, it just depends on your flavor profile. You don't even have to put it over biscuits. You could put it over potatoes. You could put it over rice. You could put it over regular bread, whatever, you know.
Just eat it with a spoon.
Just eat it with a spoon. So put this sausage in here. What we're looking to do here is just, you know, brown it and get it cooked through kind of. And then we're going to take it out of this pan and put it in a bowl. And we're going to use the oil, the fat from the sausage to make the roux for the gravy. Sure.
What do you need?
Butter.
More butter?
Yeah. Awesome, thank you. So yeah, so if you read through the recipe, that's another thing as this is sauteing. I usually tell people this, and this is the first class that I've done virtually, so not in person. So bear with me too. I'm trying to get my feet under me as far as my flow and what I tell people. But what I usually tell people when we're looking through the recipe, which we didn't do today because we didn't do like a handout, is you want to make sure that you read the recipe all the way through before you start cooking a recipe. Just make sure you understand what you're getting into. Make sure you get all your ingredients ready, which is called, you know, mise en place. Get all your things set up. That's a French term for everything in its place, basically. So you want to make sure you have all your ingredients ready. You've read the recipe through before you start cooking, because you don't want to get 3/4 of the way through and you're like, oh man, I should have done that first, or I needed to chop those differently, or those had to be blanched before I put them in, you know, whatever it may be. The other thing is, sometimes whoever writes recipes, you know, maybe it works for them and sometimes it doesn't work for you. Maybe there's a step that you think you should do before you know, maybe you should do step 4 instead of before step 3, because sometimes that works better. There's plenty of things like that, or maybe you're like, oh, I could do step 4 and put that to the side and then I don't have to worry about that later. So it's just nice to read it all the way through, because who knows, you just don't want to get caught down the line, and that's all. So I'm just kind of breaking this up, getting it cooked through. Smells good. Smells nice. So that's going, we'll get all of our other stuff together. I mean, we got some butter here. We may not need it. We're just going to get a little bit ready, because what we're going to do, like I said, is we want about 3 tablespoons of fat for this recipe. But if there's not 3 tablespoons in here, we're going to supplement with butter to bring it up to 3 tablespoons. Also, the recipe that we're working with is 3/4 pound of sausage, but I just threw the whole pound in here. Like, it's a little extra sausage in your gravy, doesn't matter. So again, that's just it's gonna be just more meaty in your gravy, but it really won't. It's not gonna mess with the recipe or anything, because we're gonna take the sausage out and add it back in. So if you don't want to add it all back in, you don't have to. And then using the fat from what's coming out now to make our roux for the gravy. Getting close, almost there. the browning. Close to that. I don't know if you can see that on the camera when I take it up.
I always hold it up towards the camera too, and people can actually see, you know, down to it.
Like this.
There you go. Perfect.
There we go. Almost. A little pink in there still, but.
So somebody has a question, will dried buttermilk work for the biscuit?
Will dried buttermilk work? Probably. I mean, you just have to hydrate it, right? I've never used it. Again, it's a liquid, so the buttermilk is more about flavor. It's got a little acidity to it, but it's more about the flavor. You know, you can use regular milk or almond milk or whatever, but it's just the flavor of the buttermilk is kind of what we're looking for too. It gives it that tang. All right, so we're pretty well browned up here. Okay, well that's finishing up. I'm just going to look here. So we got milk here, the butter just in case. There's our flour. We got a little extra sage. It says fresh, but you can use rubbed if you want. We have a little bit of crushed pepper. So that's also if you'd like, and then salt and pepper to taste. So that's that. Take a slotted spoon here. I'm going to get all this out because we want to save the fat. Right.
I wish you guys could smell this kitchen. It smells so good in here.
It does smell pretty good. All right, so I'm going to say that's about a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half in there of oil. Anybody can see that on the bottom. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to call that a tablespoon and a half. So this is about a tablespoon and a half. So we'll go right in there. That was the leftover from the biscuits, which I know we used 6. Oh no, that was this, which is about a tablespoon and a half. Sorry. All right, take our whisk, get the butter all melted. Okay. So then we're going to take and whisk the flour into this mixture. So it's about a half a cup of flour.
Quarter cup.
Sorry, quarter cup of flour. I don't have a quarter cup measure, but that's okay. It's 4 tablespoons to a quarter cup. So we got 4 tablespoons to a quarter cup. It's almost melted. 1, 2. You try to learn some of those measurements. It does come in handy because, just like that, if you don't have a quarter cup measure, you can do something like that. But it's really easy if you learn it that way. Quarters, so quarter cup. So 4 of those is going to be 1 cup.
So we have them on the door behind you.
Oh yeah, there we go. Well, never mind. There you go. All right, so we're just going to get this roux a little bit brown. So we're going to cook it for about a minute or so. Get our milk ready. 2 cups of milk.
You need another liquid cup. They're in the closet behind you.
This one.
Yep, to the top right.
You want to cook this roux just a little bit. You know, you're doing two things here. You're getting a little color into it and cooking it. It's going to give it a little nuttiness with the flavor. And also it's going to cook out that flour flavor, you know, by cooking the flour a little bit. So you generally want to cook your roux a little bit. You can do some research on different types of roux, blonde roux, you know, red roux, dark roux, all that kind of stuff. But we're just doing a regular roux, but we're getting a little color on it, that's all. So like a minute or so. So again, you don't want it too dark. About like that. So kind of slowly whisk it in. You want to try to get everything off of the bottom of the pan. And then you want to let it thicken a little bit and then add a little more. You can always add more, it's hard to take it out. You know, if you get it too thin, then you got to figure out a way to add more roux into it or make more roux and thicken it again. So it's easier to slowly add the liquid as opposed to do it the other way.
Is this something that you make in your household all the time? Is this like a special treat for you guys?
Don't make it too much because it's pretty heavy for breakfast, but you know, every few times a year we'll make this, you know, get the hankering for it. Definitely, generally more in the colder months, you know. Definitely a stick to your ribs type of breakfast, or dinner, or lunch, or whatever you want to do for it. I mean, we're big fans of doing breakfast for dinner, so. That is going to be pretty good once we get this thickened. So once that's done, just again, get it thickened, let it come up to a simmer. You don't want to boil it though, you just want to let it simmer and thicken to the consistency that you want. So we're good.
I know it's after the holiday, but is this the same technique you would use for turkey gravy? You'd use like the turkey drippings and do a roux and all that?
Yeah, you do a roux, and then as opposed to the cream, you add your drippings and then maybe some stock to make it even a little thinner. All right, so that's, see, we're thickening up here. As it cooks and as it boils, that's when the roux and the flour start to bind and develop the thickness. So at that point, once you get to your the thickness that you want, we're going to add the sausage back in. Just there. So yeah, we're pretty well there. I'll show you this consistency. So it's a nice gravy sticking to the back of the spoon. When we add the sausage, it's going to thicken up a little more. So go ahead and add this right in. All right, so at this point, you go ahead and cut your heat because you have your thickness done, and we're going to give it a taste. That's good. Needs a little salt, like it says, a little salt for to taste, a little pepper. And we're going to just do a touch of this sage just because I like it. And also, I don't need too many peppers. I got a little spice in there, so that's nice. So just a touch of that. Go ahead and give that another mix up. since I'm sharing it, I have to get a different spoon. Give it another taste. That's good. So good balanced flavor. Sausage, sage. It's like a great thickness. Yeah, it's really good. You know, as you keep going, the salt and it's salty, but not too salty. So yeah, it's really good. So now we're gonna go ahead and plate it up. All right, so you get yourself a nice plate. One of these beautiful biscuits that you just baked. And cut that open. Do a little cut, then you can pull it and kind of get that like the layers. And you see in the middle, it's not dry, but it's nice and moist. So that's a good biscuit right there. This is the way I like to plate it. I put one little half down. Take a bunch of this gravy like that. Take this other half kind of like this, and maybe just another little touch like that. And garnish it with something if you want, a little salt, pepper, and that's it.
Awesome. We are right on schedule, so we usually plan for about an hour of cooking and then plenty of time at the end for questions. So if you guys have any questions about what you just watched, anything you want to let us know, you're going to plan on cooking this weekend, go for it. Type it in the chat and I will read it out loud. Otherwise, thank you all so much for coming, and we really appreciate you joining us and being a part of our community. So again, I'll leave the questions open. We'll have the event going for a while. If you've got questions, we'd be happy to hear them. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
I can't wait to eat it. So this is why I was planning dinner today. I was like, I'm gonna get sausage and biscuits all I can. Thank you.
I can just build a few plates if you want.
Yeah, that would be great. I can be the sausage and biscuit fairy. We're going to build a few more plates just to show that wonderful plating technique again. But again, there's no time for questions. Someone just says, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
It's very exciting to be able to offer these classes still in such a weird time. So very appreciative of everybody attending and of Chef Jason. Mark says, thank you, Jason. Very informative, and it looks like very good food.
It is, Mark.
Yeah, I'm
Hopefully
sorry.
you get a chance to cook it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it in the question box if people are planning on making this, trying it out. Or you can also send me an email, let me know how it went, what your experience was, maybe send some pictures. I'd love to kind of keep that community going with people making this recipe. That'd be great.
Okay, that's all of them.
Awesome. All right, I will leave the question box up for 2 more minutes, then we're going to end the event. But again, thanks so much to everybody for attending. Someone wants to know, what cut of pork would you use if you were going to grind your own sausage?
I would use like a pork shoulder. Shoulder's always really good. It's, again, really high good fat content. So you really just want a nice, well marbled cut of pork that has good fat content. So the shoulder is always a good bet for that.
Awesome. And then Mark says he's going to try making it soon. And yes, we are going to put the recording of this class online. It will take a few days to process the video, but it will go up on our classes and events page. So you'll be able to watch along as you cook if you need that, the lovely voice of Chef Jason kind of over your shoulder while you're cooking, let you know how to do it. Yes, it'll take a few days, but it will be up on the website. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end the live event, but we really appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we will see you at another event with us soon.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
guys.
one.